Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith is a movie tie-in game. I would say it's close to a beat-em-up, which is interesting because the GBA port is a beat-em-up, but I'll discuss that one in a different video. It's not a hack and slash like Force Unleashed. It's more focused on a few opponents at a time. I feel like a beat-em-up is the closest genre I can think of for this. And a Google search reveals it's an action game. Which, yeah, I guess, but that's pretty fucking broad, so I'm still gonna say it's closest to a beat-em-up. The game is tied with the movie, so that's what you will be playing. You play as Obi-Wan in some levels and Anakin in others. And while it is a beat-em-up for most of it, there are also levels that are one-on-one duels. You have a light attack, a heavy attack, a saber jab, jump button, and holding the buttons can also add some force to your attacks. You also have a block button. Holding it can change some attacks and allow you to hop around. You have a force grasp, which lets you lift and throw in whatever direction you aim, and tapping it does a force push. On top of that, you have a saber throw, and depending if you're good and evil, you have mind trick for good or lightning for bad. And on top of that, you have force speed, force jumps, and just other things you can do with the force. Oh yeah, you can also force heal. And on top of that, you also have grabs and saber locks. There's a lot. But don't let it overwhelm you, it's really not as complicated as it sounds and you can get used to it pretty quick. The first 6 levels are about learning how to play while rescuing Palpatine on Grievous's ship. They aren't bad, but they are for sure the weakest levels in the game. So if you aren't feeling the game at this point, just push on through it. It's a really short game anyway. You'll also have a one-on-one battle with Dooku here as well. He's your introductory boss.
Dark side, not impressed. This is for Obi-Wan.
The next 3 levels are Obi-Wan on Utapau. And you end up fighting Grievous. After that, this is where the game gets good for me. First we fight Mace Windu, and it's not like the movie where we just cut off his hand. Nah, in this game we get a full-ass battle. The cutscenes don't look incredible, but they do add a lot. Followed by the next level of us going to the Jedi Temple and killing all of the Jedi there. Like it was implied that happened in the movie, but in this game you actually get to do it, and it's super interesting.
Stand aside or be struck down. Leave none alive.
I'll cut you in half, traitor!
One less Jedi.
Anakin Skywalker, stop!
You'll never beat me.
My powers are beyond you now. You can't escape.
Jedi scum. You're nothing to me now.
You'll never win!
Don't make me destroy you.
So after that, we face a boss 2-parter that I assume debuted in this game. Sarah Keto is the first. She's fast and has 2 lightsabers. Also while fighting, she retreats and brings up holocrons of other Jedi to help her focus on her battle with you. I took their voice clips and made a TikTok with Ashley once.
A Jedi shall not know anger. A Jedi shall not know hatred. A Jedi shall not know love. There is no emotion. There is peace. There is no ignorance. There is knowledge. There is no passion. There is serenity. There is no death. There is the Force. There is no peace. Knowledge is...
Anyway, then you have to kill her. And excuse the awkwardness, I have the music of Star Wars turned off so I don't get copy strikes.
You think you have a chance? Your favorite student is no more.
That leads to Syndraulic, a Jedi Master that uses a lot of force speed in his attacks. And yeah, he's a fun boss. Sadly, you do not have any youngling killing though.
This is unfair!
Now we have the second to last act of the game, where Obi-Wan will be dealing with Order 66, and also hopping around the Jedi Temple with Yoda, finding out who killed all the Jedi.
Attacking the clone jar.
And Anakin will be on Mustafar, killing everyone. Honestly, it's a ton of fun. It makes you feel real powerful, and these are by far the strongest enemies.
Come on!
Jedi.
You were dead when I walked in the room.
But then you hit the room with the Viceroy and the other leaders of the Confederacy, and it's just brutal. Then you fight Newt Gunray. He hides behind a ship, and you kill him. Honestly, this not only adds a lot, but also really makes you feel that transformation to Darth Vader. The little bit these games added really adds a lot to the Darth Vader transformation. After that is a final battle, Obi-Wan vs. Anakin. This is your hardest fight, and also follows the film.
The dark side is not the way! Anakin, please, come back to the light.
But as a bonus last level, there's a version where you play as Anakin instead, and in that one you beat Obi-Wan as an alternate ending. You also kill Palpatine and rule the galaxy yourself. Yeah, it messes up canon, but that's why it's the bonus alternate last battle. After all that, you do have the bonus missions. They are one-room battles of waves of enemies. You have one you can play as Grievous's bodyguard, one as Grievous, one as Yoda. On top of that, you have a Mustafar mission. So short, I assume it was cut content from the main level. And a battle with Old Ben and Darth Vader from Episode 4, which is an amazing addition and looks far better than the movie fight. 2-player missions. These are just co-op fight waves of enemies. Sadly, not as good as the regular missions, but it is what it is.
Must be a console here somewhere.
Then you have Versus Mode. This is where you can saber duel against a friend or an AI, as all the lightsabers in the game except Yoda. I also forgot to mention some characters have their own special force powers, and that's really cool. Anyway, playing against the same character lets you see an alternate skin of them, which is cool, but sadly you can't pick it unless you're player 2. Also, you can fight the CPU in Versus Mode too, and I hate when you can't do that in fighting games, so I'm really happy they have it in this one. I mean, like, you can always do that in fighting games, but I just mean some fighting games won't let you choose your opponent and you have to fight arcade unless you're like with a friend. But this one actually lets you pick your character and the opponent the computer's playing as, and I really enjoy that. And honestly, whenever I want to dual sabers in a video game, I don't go to Terrace Cassi because that game sucks. I go to this one. It's not quite balanced enough to be like a competitive thing, but it's fun enough and balanced enough to do casually with friends, and they all have their own style, and it's great. Anakin is fast and strong, and he's just an overall great character. Obi-Wan is also a pretty great overall character, but you would expect that, as I assume those are the two with the most time spent on them. Count Dooku is fairly balanced, as is Mace Windu. General Grievous, on the other hand, doesn't have the Force and instead has guns and the ability to charge. He can also pull up 4 lightsabers, which makes him do heavy amounts of damage, but he can only do that for a certain amount of time. However, without the Force, he can't force heal. And this is the biggest, the biggest issue with him. His attacks are also not the fastest, so he's like a total toss-up. Well, he can damage you a ton and end a battle fast, but if you can't manage to time his slow attacks well enough, and you end up having to fight a longer game, you're probably gonna lose. You gotta take out your opponent quick with Grievous, because if you have to fight a longer game, your opponent's gonna heal on you and you can't heal. So, Sarah Keto, she's got some weird grabs which have a really long animation, which means they can be countered easy. But she's also flexible and has 2 sabers. But then again, she's weaker than the other fighters, which makes sense because like she's only a pupil. But I love her dark side look, it's so cool. Syndralik's 4-speed attacks looks crazy fast, but they're actually about the speed of his other attacks. He's not a bad character at all. Darth Vader is somehow the worst character in the game. I don't know how they made that happen, but he is. He's slow and is weak, and his grabs only work whenever they fucking feel like it. Now maybe I'll chop this up to, like, he's older, so maybe he's not as good. Or he fought weak in episode 4, so he fights weak here. Or even they didn't have a lot of time, and so he's a last-minute addition with how buggy his force grab is. And I probably believe that one. But yeah, he's the hardest to win a fight with. Old Ben isn't good either, but he also isn't bad. He also has this weird floating death every time he dies, leaving me to believe he's also unfinished, because I don't remember that happening. Like, he's supposed to, like, disappear in his cloak or something, not fucking float in the air. But he's, like, closer to, like, Sarah Keto's level. Most of the characters are, like, semi-balanced, but not all of them. And yeah, you can have button spammers with all those strategies, but if you get, like, good enough, I feel like you can always beat someone who's just spamming buttons. Overall, it's a good game. If nothing else, pick it up for the versus dueling. It's really the highlight in my mind. The best Star Wars saber duels we have in video games currently. Also subscribe to me. I make a bunch of Star Wars videos, and I've already made a bunch. I'll make more, but you should watch some of the ones I've already made. And, yeah.